definitely try to outline past cases, right? Because ideally, a prospect, they're looking for an attorney who has handled a situation that's very similar to their own, and get as detailed as you can when you're outlining these past cases. Think about varying fact patterns. What can you really bring? What kind of detail can you bring so that your prospects understand, oh yeah, hey, like, that's really similar to what I'm going through. Clearly, that Mr. Attorney has that knowledge that I'm looking for.
This is gonna be amazing. You got a lot of people on this call today.
I think the biggest miss that people make in terms of selling it.
And that's what a good marketing message, good branding does.
How does somebody do something big in a very short period of time?
So Kara, tell us, how do we leverage the experience we're already sitting on to blow up our brand?
Yes, thanks for having me, Bill. And I'm in great company with Mark. Good to see you guys. So, I mean, it really is, the setup, Bill, that you gave. It's how can we really leverage that expertise, the knowledge that you already have? I mean, attorneys ask me all the time, how can I distinguish myself? How can I really stand out from every other darn attorney, that is around the block, that's down the street? And, I'll tell you, I look at a ton of attorney websites. There's not anything special about 99% of these sort of online presence, right? So what can you do? And it's not hard. It's about being yourself, it's about being authentic, and it's about adding value and real knowledge, speaking directly to your target audience. That's really what it comes down to. And it's not a complicated, concept. It's not a complicated process. It certainly takes intention. It certainly takes, consistency. So specifically what I'm referring to is, how can you materially increase your conversion rate by adding value to prospects before they're even ready to hire you, right? Because undoubtedly you have a group of leads, of folks who need your services, who aren't quite ready to give you a call, right? Aren't quite ready to book that consult, but they have a bunch of questions. They're going through a legal issue that they probably know very little about, looking to hire an attorney that they don't know. So start to establish that trust, right? However, meet those folks where they are. So, do your prospects generally like to read, right? Are they readers? Would they appreciate a book that's branded and answering many of their common questions? Would they prefer to watch videos? I mean, kind of everyone really, prefers video at this point, right? To a certain extent. So how can you kind of most efficiently and directly add value, answer common questions? Really what I always tell attorneys, start shooting videos, get on social media, and better than anyone the common questions that you get all the time, right? What are these folks going through? How can you help them specifically? Get specific. Don't just, talk kind of in generalities and say, well, under this broad umbrella. Get specific, provide the value, and be there for these prospects until they need you, right? Obviously, very few other attorneys, especially probably in your area, are doing this. You're going to stand out as soon as they need your services, or certainly they know of friends or family who need your services. You will be the one that has been conveying your caring, really supplying that useful, hopefully a little bit entertaining, hopefully a little bit compelling information. Definitely try to outline past cases, right? Because ideally, a prospect, they're looking for an attorney who has handled a situation that's very similar to their own, and get as detailed as you can when you're outlining these past cases. Think about varying fact patterns. What can you really bring? What kind of detail can you bring so that your prospects understand, oh yeah, hey, like, that's really similar to what I'm going through. Clearly, that Mr. Attorney has that knowledge that I'm looking for. So that's kind of, starting big, but it's really a simple concept, Bill. It really is.
And I completely agree with you. And I, I call it trust in advance, right? So I look at this from a couple of lenses, right? If you can have some form of content out there, then if you get creative enough, you can leverage that content in any part of your marketing, sales, or even active client management processes, right? If your content's that good, why can't you use it throughout every single part of the process? And I see a lot of people segment content marketing from ROI. But if you get creative and you create a helpful video to someone on, for example, in criminal defense, I always use this example of, should I hire a public defender or do I need an actual criminal defense lawyer? Right? That's a helpful piece of information that you could put on YouTube. You could create a lead magnet or ebook on, but you could also take that and help someone who's on the fence that calls your business, and you could send that to them to push them over the fence and make a decision. So my question to you is, how do you see people who are really getting a really good ROI from their content? What are they doing differently from the segment of people who create all this content and then almost mentally segment it from ROI?
Yeah, great question. And that really is the difference, right? So creating a systemized sort of coordinated approach around all of this is really important. So it's not just put out one video and, kind of wash your hands of it, right? It's how do you attract? So it's not only about attracting more leads and more prospects, it's also about qualifying those leads with this content, right? It's actually doing a little bit of deselling is kind of how I put it, right? You only want to attract those, ideally, you only want to attract those prospects who you can really help, right? You don't want to be kind of wasting your time sifting and screening through those folks that just, aren't a good fit and you just can't help. So that's a really good use of the kind of top of the funnel content. So once you get those folks in there, you have to have a system. Hopefully it's somewhat automated because, manually kind of juggling all this isn't sustainable, but you get their attention initially, and then enter them into a lengthy educational high value drip nurturing sequence, for instance, right, where you're dripping out this knowledge and answering these questions on an ongoing basis, again, until they are ready to sign, right? You're top of mind. And Bill, you're right, it doesn't end once you get that retainer, right? So how are you welcoming your new clients, right? What is that experience like? What kind of content, especially now, the pandemic, you may be seeing fewer folks face to face. Get some videos out there to your new clients, really welcoming them aboard, reassuring them they made the right decision, kind of combating that buyer's remorse, right? Sometimes there can be that gap between sort of retention and when that visible work is done. And if they don't hear anything, you're hard at work at their case, but they may not know that, right? And unless you address that, kind of fill that communication gap, they're going to assume nothing is getting done, right? And they're going to say, why did I hire? This is a mistake, right? So you definitely welcome those new clients, reassure them that they made the right decision. And then certainly once you're wrapping that case, you better be staying in touch with those past clients too. I mean, it's amazing how many attorneys I talk to that say that my past clients, they remember me. I don't need to do anything to sort of nurture and cultivate those relationships. I mean, I'm sorry to say they're not going to remember you, more than likely, right? They're past their legal issue. They're kind of, you're out of sight, out of mind. Why not just send a nice newsletter every month? I know it sounds a little old school, but it's really a proven way. Stay top of mind with those past clients, really generate referrals. You really start to generate predictable revenue and predictable referral flow from those folks when you're bringing a system and a coordinated approach. So Bill, that's really the difference. I see the folks that are really able to skyrocket with this, filling all those gaps and bringing a system in place. That's where, you really kind of see the difference.
Yeah. And it's a good concept. I learned, I actually was talking with Tanner Chidester. He's a big internet marketer. He spends like 500 grand a month and he does, I think 30 million a year through info products, which is crazy, and masterminds and stuff through funnels primarily. And he told me this really unique concept, scaling the unscalable, right? All of the blue ocean in business exists in the things that your competition is not willing to do, right? And if you can find a way to scale something that at first glance seems unscalable. You can build processes and systems, like you said, up to something that's complex and hard to do. It gives you a competitive moat, like Warren Buffett says. It's a barrier to where people can't jump that moat and attack your castle because it's harder to do. And we found that with this show, for example, that's our version of a competitive moat. It's hard to do this show because, getting thought leaders such as yourself and doing that every single week and creating topics and redoing ClickFunnels landing pages and redoing custom emails every single week with no templated emails, like that's hard, but we built resources up to it rather than going, this is too hard, let's can it, right? So your point is well taken, and it's really important for everyone to listen. So for everyone listening, my job here is to make it tactical, what Kara's saying. Think to yourself, what's something that if I raised my resources up to this thing, whether that's more money, add someone to your team, if you were to raise resources to something that, like content marketing, for example, that's hard to consistently produce, what would come of that? And would that help you reach your goals? So my next question for you, Kara, is creating standout brand authority, which is the actual title of the event. So I noticed that a lot of people do marketing to game the search engines. Put a certain keyword in the title of a blog post, put a certain hashtag, put a certain blah, 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 blah. And it's all to game a search engine or to game an algorithm. And in that process, your brand is mush. There's nothing unique about it. It's just another blog post trying to rank. So my question for you is, when someone wants to stand out and have a unique voice that pierces through their content strategy, how do you do that?
Yeah, Bill, so often attorneys will come to me and say, I have a big budget. I'm ready to invest in PPC. I want to get these leads flowing. I want to do everything I can with zero foundation in place, right? And really no plan. So without that brand authority, without that, strong foundation, you're just throwing that money away. Really. I mean, I've seen it time and time again. And you have to think about your content strategy. Think about what's going to be valuable. Don't think about, trying to game the system, right? It's not a sustainable, that's not a long-term solution, right? It's, if you're really in this, for helping and really, attracting the right clients, you need to play that long game, right? You need to add value. You need to answer those questions. You need to set those prospects at ease and take the burden off their plate. That's a good way to look at it, right? So they're coming to you, again, nervous, scared, really just confused in general. What can you do? How can you paint that picture for them? What life's going to be like after they retain you? And that burden is lifted and it's on your shoulders now instead of theirs, right? And you have to be authentic. Mark is a master. I've actually been following him for quite some time, but he's a master at being genuine, authentic, and helping, right? And that is in speaking directly to your target audience. That is bottom line, the most important thing. And don't spend another dime on marketing if you don't have, these basics in place, because it is just a waste of time. And you're going to be bouncing from agency to agency to agency because nothing is working, right? And these agencies don't know what they're doing. And, all of the things that I hear, when sometimes it's helpful to look inward, take a look in the mirror, right? And say, you know what? We've never really put these, these foundational pieces in place to make sure that we're able to scale and really get true ROI in our other marketing.